Nature amazes with its incredible combination of beauty and power. It is capable of creating both breathtakingly beautiful wonders and powerful natural phenomena that destroy everything around them. This contrast reminds us that nature is not only a source of aesthetic admiration, but also a mighty force that requires respect and careful attention. In this video, I invite you to watch a large collection of moments that demonstrate both the destructive power and the beauty of nature. Enjoy watching. The Northern Lights are a truly magical spectacle. This natural wonder occurs when charged particles from the solar wind collide with oxygen and nitrogen atoms in the upper layers of the atmosphere, causing them to glow. You might think this is a video of water, but in fact it shows the sky filled with magical silver clouds moving like gentle waves. Mud flows form turbulent streams of water, mud, rocks, and debris. Whales are astonishing giants whose movements one can watch endlessly. This sandstorm caught residents of several Texas cities by surprise. A huge wall of dust and sand enveloped the towns, and within just a few minutes, the sun disappeared. The sky turned black and everything around was plunged into darkness. The fishermen didn't expect an uninvited guest to climb aboard their vessel, but I think they were charmed by this adorable creature and treated it to some fish. A split iceberg decided that the barrier on the embankment was no obstacle for it. The underwater world is beautiful and astonishing. Every one of its inhabitants contributes to creating this unique beauty. People were commuting in the subway and surely did not expect that rain could reach them even underground. The author of this video captured stunning nacreous clouds. Just look at how beautiful and magical they are. Every spring during floods, this lake overflows its banks, and part of the water flows into this hole. Many believe that this is how the lake replenishes itself again. Many of you might think that the footage shows stones, but in fact, these are unique ice spheres that gained their shape thanks to the waves of Lake Michigan. The author of this video witnessed an incredibly beautiful phenomenon resembling a perfectly circular rainbow. The wind decided to play with the roof. It first tore it off and then, surprisingly, placed it back in its spot. This dog was very lucky to escape the flow of water during a flood. I think this person regretted several times stepping outside during such a storm. Apparently, this deer doesn't know that it can shed its antlers. Thanks to this video, you have the opportunity to see how some species of sea stars feed. Storm Sierra struck Dalmatia in Croatia, bringing strong gusts of wind reaching up to 100 km per hour and high waves crashing against the shore, creating total chaos in the sea. Guides were training in the mountains of Peru when a glacier nearby began to collapse. Fortunately, these people were experienced climbers and managed to escape. In January of the year 2025, massive wildfires broke out in Los Angeles in Southern California, becoming some of the most destructive in the state's history. The fire spread within hours due to the Santa Ana winds, making it extremely difficult to contain. As a result, the blaze destroyed more than 16,000 structures and claimed around 30 lives. Locusts may seem like harmless small insects at first glance. However, during swarms, the number of individuals can reach billions, and they can destroy entire crop fields within just a few hours. Such events turn into real disasters. Locusts leave behind barren land, triggering food shortages and causing enormous damage to agriculture. A flood can even catch you off guard in the subway. Nature decided to play a little with the hay and spun it in a waltz with the wind, creating a fascinating natural spectacle.
Weird, there's just a slight breeze here. And I'm what?
During a dive, a woman literally came face to face with a shark. I think this predator's kiss will stay with her for the rest of her life. During and after rain, one should be cautious when in the mountains. Hidden erosions in such terrain can cause rock falls or landslides. This footage captures an amazing moment: the mass migration of fungus gnat larvae. I think many of you might have thought that some careless person started a forest fire, but in fact, the reason is different. It turns out that during the process of decay, methane formed inside the tree trunk and the intense heat caused it to ignite. I think many of you watching the fury of the elements once again realize how powerful humans are before nature. Avalanches are impressive in their beauty, but only if you're at a safe distance from what's happening. Sometimes, to relax and lift your mood, it's enough just to be in nature surrounded by beautiful landscapes, like in the place shown in this video. You have only 5 seconds to find the animal here. I think many of you didn't have enough time because owls and horned owls are excellent at blending in with trees. Leopard flounders are masters of camouflage. When they remain still, it's impossible to notice them in the sand. The Helheim Glacier, located in eastern Greenland, is melting rapidly. In the year 2019, scientists recorded that in just a few days, due to abnormal heat, about 55 billion tons of ice melted, and 90% of Greenland's ice sheet was affected by melting. This footage shows one of a series of collapses of this glacier caused by the thaw. A simple boat ride turned into a real roller coaster. The waves tossed the boats as if they were toys, but fortunately, the people managed to reach the shore safely and avoid tragedy. This is what cattle herding looks like in Switzerland after the arrival of snowstorms and severe frosts. A rainbow created by waterfall spray and bright sunlight against the backdrop of crystal clear water and huge boulders looks absolutely magical. These people were lucky enough to witness a whale breaching the water with their own eyes. Thanks to the recording, you can also enjoy this incredible sight. It's terrifying to imagine what the drivers in this situation went through. They didn't care about the damage to their cars, they just wanted to get home as fast as possible in such a storm. During severe floods, water destroys everything in its path. Even strong roads are completely washed away. These people witnessed a terrifying tornado heading straight toward them. They didn't have much time, so they decided to capture the event on camera and quickly drive away. Tourists witnessed an impressive avalanche descending from a mountain. Being in that place was dangerous, but thanks to this footage, we can see how quickly the avalanche gains momentum and how fast it moves. This turtle was born with a very rare anomaly. In essence, it's two different turtles, Siamese twins, joined by their shell. Despite this serious condition, the turtles feel great and eat well. This video was filmed in Alaska. A tourist noticed three glowing red orbs in the clouds. They moved chaotically, but what they were remains a mystery. When sardines sense danger approaching, they gather into a ball. In such a dense formation, about 10 to 20 meters in diameter, it's easier for the fish to scare off predators and reduce the risk of being eaten one by one. Watching this from a bird's eye view looks truly mesmerizing. Rainfall in the Las Vegas desert is extremely rare, but during heavy rains, a peculiar phenomenon can be observed: the formation of numerous whirlpools. This happens because the dry ground gradually collapses under the weight of the water. In Thailand, people witnessed a frightening phenomenon. Before their eyes, a crack appeared in the asphalt, water gushed out, and part of the road collapsed. The hurricane was so strong that it toppled a multi-ton construction crane. A rock collapse can happen completely unexpectedly, so in mountainous areas, one should always remain extremely cautious and alert. After strong waves, a large amount of sea foam washed up on the shore. People were happy to play in it as if it were a giant cup of cappuccino. Our nature can create true masterpieces that are impossible to look away from. Among them is the sea slug with bright colors and intricate patterns on its body. It's truly mesmerizing in its beauty. Heavy rain fell on the red cliffs of Hormuz Island. The eroded soil created an incredible landscape of crimson rivers and waterfalls. It seems as if the Snow Queen herself visited this place and left her staff among the green grass. However, it turned out that this phenomenon was caused by a leaking sprinkler during a frosty night. Coom jellies look truly fantastic. Their translucent, gelatinous bodies shimmer thanks to 8 rows of ciliary plates that, when moving, create the effect of flickering rainbow stripes. In the dark, many of them are capable of bioluminescence. Their bodies emit a soft blue or greenish light, giving the impression that tiny alien creatures are floating in the water. This footage shows a lion's mane jellyfish. The species amazes with its gigantic size. The dome of such a jellyfish can reach about 2.3 meters in diameter and its tentacles up to 36.5 meters in length. Its translucent body is colored in shades of orange, red or brown, and the spread out tentacles, resembling a lush mane, create an impressive and slightly eerie appearance. Apparently, this guy got hot and decided to cool off. The author of the video captured unusual clouds. They hung in the sky like giant jellyfish, and the phenomenon looked very impressive. The creators of the video tried to figure out what caused the tree to catch fire in winter. Unfortunately, they never found an answer to that question. It may look like a scene from a movie with sepia filters, but in fact it is a sandstorm in Australia. An even more spectacular sandstorm occurred in Iraq on the 15th of April 2025. That day, the sky and everything around turned a blood red color. Life in mountain villages attracts many with its beautiful landscapes, but those who have lived in the mountains for a long time know how dangerous all this beauty can be and how often serious landslides, rockfalls, and avalanches occur in such areas. In September of the year 2024, Typhoon Yagi caused a large-scale flood in the northern provinces of Vietnam. As a result of the disaster, more than 280,000 houses were destroyed. 26 provinces, home to about 40% of the country's population, were affected. The flood also destroyed more than 260,000 hectares of farmland and about 2.5 million heads of livestock. The residents of Western Australia are used to big waves, but this time the power of nature was so strong that it made many people worry for their safety. Ants are known for their diligence as well as their teamwork and strength. Just look at how easily they handle a large object in a narrow space. Although this task may seem difficult for insects, ants still manage to find a solution. Nature can shock not only with its destructive power, but also with its incredible ability to create beauty. This lake is proof of that. Just look at the beautiful pattern it created on the frozen surface. Sometimes, a strong wind can bring positive emotions and even laughter, as in this video. Climate change can affect not only global processes. It turns out they can also be noticed in one's own home. For example, some homeowners in the United States experienced the sudden destruction of their floor tiles. Scientists explain that this is due to the expansion of soil caused by climate change. A strong earthquake with a magnitude of 7.7 occurred in Myanmar. As a result of this natural disaster, water from swimming pools located on skyscraper rooftops began to spill out, creating an impressive sight. But what was more frightening was that the disaster spared not even new high-rise buildings that had cost enormous sums of money to construct. During a severe storm, some homeowners may witness an extremely unpleasant sight, their house literally crumbling into pieces. Tourists camping in tents were caught by hail the size of a golf ball. However, they weren't too upset since their cars were parked far from the site. This footage was taken in Thailand. In it, a witness captured an astonishing living tornado created by bats. At first glance, it looks as if someone wrapped the trunk of this tree in a plastic bag. But in fact, it was a web woven by gypsy moth caterpillars to protect the food source from other insects and predators. Sea clams are fascinating mollusks that burrow into the sand during low tide and live there. However, before the tide comes in, they begin to emerge from the sand, creating an impressive spectacle like the one shown in this video. Strangely, out of the entire house, it was this particular window frame that decided to surrender to the wind and go on a short journey, breaking another pane in the process. During the hurricane, the front door of this business center decided to turn into a centrifuge. Its spinning motion greatly lifted the staff's spirits. This footage was filmed during a strong earthquake in China. A rescue team's vehicle narrowly avoided being crushed by a huge boulder that rolled down the mountain. Thanks to the courage of these rescuers, many lives were saved, people who had been cut off from the outside world by the disaster. Floods not only create streams resembling raging rivers, but can also form dangerous whirlpools that literally suck in the surrounding soil. Octopuses are known for their unique ability to squeeze through almost any crack. But why did this octopus look as if it were Cthulhu itself, returning to its lair? This sunset will surely go down as one of the most beautiful ever seen on our planet. On a mountain road during rain, drivers were moving very carefully since the surface was slippery. However, danger on this stretch lurked where it was least expected. Suddenly, several large rocks fell from the mountain. Luckily, the people were driving on the other side of the road. Imagine being on a mountain road when suddenly a raging muddy flow rushes past you, carrying away other cars. This is exactly the situation drivers in the state of Colorado found themselves in during a flood. This snowboarder took a desperate risk by descending from a mountain peak. His movement triggered an avalanche, but he was lucky and was not injured. However, was this ride really worth such a risk? In May 2025, the Kilauea volcano in Hawaii awoke. The eruption was accompanied by fantastic lava fountains. From the northern crater, jets rose to a height of more than 300 meters, and from the southern one to about 70 meters. The spectacle lasted for about 6 hours and was accompanied by emissions of around 50,000 tons of sulfur dioxide, which led to the formation of volcanic smog. It may seem that this island is floating among the clouds, but in reality this effect was caused by dense fog surrounding it. This is what happens when lightning strikes a tree. The weather is always unpredictable and winter can begin earlier than expected. Therefore, it is very important for car owners to take care of replacing summer tires with winter ones. Otherwise, one may end up in the same situation as the driver of this car. In the year 2023, an alligator without the upper half of its jaw was found in Florida. It was assumed that it had been caught in a hunting trap. The animal was rescued and placed in the Gatorland theme park in Orlando, where it was named Jolene. Thanks to care and attention, its injury healed, and despite the absence of the upper part of its mouth, it adapted well to life. In the American state of Pennsylvania, there is an unusual place, the Ringing Rocks Park. Its uniqueness lies in the fact that the dye-based boulders produce a ringing, bell-like sound when struck. Scientists determined the composition of the rocks, but still could not explain with certainty why they ring. This natural phenomenon remains a mystery and attracts many tourists who come to the park with small hammers to personally listen to the music of the stones. A man managed to stop his car just before the spot where a rock fall occurred. That day will definitely become his second birthday. For water, there are no obstacles. It can completely destroy human structures, as shown in this video. After this flood, the entire mine turned into a floating mass of sand, clay, and water. If you've ever wondered what happens if you throw an ice block into red-hot lava, this video is for you. As expected, the ice melts very quickly, but instead of turning into liquid water, it immediately transforms into steam. Such turbulent waterfalls during floods, of course, look very impressive, but it's better to stay away from them.
Oh, why is it so? I feel like there's never been like that.
These cows survived a difficult snowy night with a sharp drop in air temperature. Now, they look as if they're snow sculptures rather than real animals. A man caught an electric eel that decided to demonstrate its unique ability to people. In July of the year 2021, after passing along the east coast and a number of Caribbean islands, tropical cyclone Elsa struck the United States. The maximum wind speed during the storm reached 130 kilometers per hour. The storm caused floods, landslides, and tornadoes, and the total damage amounted to more than $1 billion. In September of the year 2013, a large flood occurred in the state of Colorado caused by torrential rains in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. The disaster led to the destruction of infrastructure and the evacuation of thousands of residents. In the most affected county of Boulder, 24 centimeters of precipitation fell in one day, compared to a monthly norm of about 4 centimeters. Wave Rock is a unique natural formation in Western Australia, about 3 kilometers from the town of Hayden. It got its name from its unusual shape, which resembles a giant ocean wave. Its height is about 15 meters and its length is around 110 meters. The rock was formed more than 2.7 billion years ago as a result of erosion and chemical weathering of granite. Another feature of the rock is its ability to change color. Due to the washing out of chemical deposits, vertical stripes of red, gray, and yellow shades appear on its surface. The rock is part of a nature reserve and attracts many tourists every year. What is captured in this footage may seem strange, but in reality deer move in circles to hide from predators. In the center of such a circle are females and young, while males stand around the perimeter, protecting each other and demonstrating their strength. This behavior confuses the predator as it becomes difficult for it to single out one prey among the constantly moving mass of animals. In this footage, you can see the Danakil Depression located in Ethiopia. This place is famous for its cosmic landscapes that resemble the surface of other planets. The bright colors of this area are caused by mineral deposits of sulfur and salts. Bad weather can ruin our mood, and sometimes it can also damage our property. The owner of this house knows this better than anyone else. India is known for its floods, which regularly occur during the monsoon season. As a result of heavy rains, roads, bridges, and coastal areas are washed away, leading to serious destruction and disruption of transportation. In this footage, you can see how the riverbank was eroded, and in a single second, a tourist bus ended up in the raging water. Fortunately, it was empty and no one was injured. During hurricanes, people are always advised to stay indoors. Strong winds can tear roofing tiles from houses, rip off facade panels, and damage other exterior elements, creating danger for those outside. Flying debris is one of the main sources of danger. As shown in this footage, even small objects can turn into deadly projectiles during a hurricane. This tree turns into an amazing natural fountain during heavy rains. On such days, groundwater creates such pressure that it bursts out through a hole in the trunk. This footage was taken in Moscow during a thunderstorm with strong winds. The gusts were so powerful that they tore off facades and roofs from buildings, crashing them onto parked cars. On the 28th of May 2025, around 9:30 in the evening local time, a bright meteor flew over the southern Chinese province of Guangdong. For 5 seconds, it turned night into day. A loud rumble followed the flash. The event caused real panic. People were calling the police, asking if it was the end of the world, and videos and photos quickly spread on social media. Astronomers explained that it was a bolide that was part of the Tau Herculid meteor shower. During spawning, some fish display unusual behavior. For example, they jump out of the water. Salmon leap to overcome obstacles on their way to spawning grounds, while splash tetras synchronously jump to lay their eggs on leaves hanging above the water. The residents of the Russian city of Norilsk are used to a harsh subarctic climate, but even they were caught off guard by this snowstorm. Two daredevils decided to capture mesmerizing footage of waves. They succeeded in showing both the power and the beauty of the water element. This footage was taken in the Republic of Vanuatu on the 17th of December 2024. On that day, an earthquake with a magnitude of 7.3 occurred. The epicenter was located about 30 kilometers from the capital, Port Vila. Fortunately, this car repair shop was far from the epicenter and no one was hurt. On the 28th of May 2025, the Birch Glacier collapsed in the Swiss Alps. As a result of the natural disaster, about 3 million cubic meters of mud, ice, and rocks descended on the village of Blatten. About 90% of the settlement, including 130 houses and the church, was destroyed. Human casualties were avoided thanks to the quick evacuation of the village. Experts link the incident to climate change, which accelerates the melting of permafrost and destabilizes mountain slopes. Tourists always strive to take impressive photos near the fiery source of Chamchamal in Iraq, but photos should be taken quickly as intense heat radiates from the vent. Tourists vacationing in Cyprus witnessed a rare natural phenomenon, a waterspout. A waterspout forms when several conditions coincide: strong convection, high humidity in the lower atmosphere, and local vertical air rotation near the water surface. This footage perfectly demonstrates what is called the breathing of the earth. The Darvaza crater, located in Turkmenistan in the Karakum Desert, is known as the Gates to Hell. This name is no coincidence. Looking at it, one truly feels that it resembles a portal to hell, from which tongues of flame constantly erupt. The crater appeared here in the year 1971 as a result of a geologist's mistake and has been burning for more than 50 years. A tourist visiting the Pancake Rocks in New Zealand was amazed as he watched waves crashing noisily against the layered cliffs. The phenomenon looked as if steam were bursting out of a giant kettle. Water forcefully shot upward through vertical crevices, soaring into the air as a thick column of spray. In this footage, you can see how, after a volcanic eruption, millions of small pumice stones were washed ashore. It looked quite unusual. On the 2nd of June 2025, during the eruption of Mount Etna in Sicily, a group of tourists narrowly escaped being hit by lava and ash. At the time of the eruption, about 40 people were on the volcano slopes and had to evacuate urgently. One of the tourists captured the scene on camera. Just imagine the stress these people went through, but fortunately, all of them reached safety in time. During a strong storm in Brazil, chaos reigned in the streets. The wind tore off facade panels and roof coverings from buildings, while terrified people tried to find shelter from the elements. This footage clearly shows why it's important to stay indoors during storms. In 2017, a large-scale landslide occurred on the mountainous border between Italy and Switzerland, forever changing the landscape of the mountain range. During this dangerous descent of rocks and soil from the mountains, the infrastructure of a resort town suffered significant damage. Noticing small stones slowly sliding off the edge of the road, people quickly pulled out their cameras. And they were right to do so, as they managed to capture a small landslide of soil directly into the city canal.
Hết rồi luôn rồi. Chừng vừa hết chừng. Kìa ông ba có chân kìa ông ba. Có chân hả? Con hút cái chiếc xuồng ông kìa. Trời.
Noticing a dust tornado forming in his backyard, this man, instead of seeking shelter, pulled out his camera. Honestly, that was for the best, as the whirlwind completely disappeared in just a few seconds, leaving behind some airborne dust and an impressive video.
It's always holy crap.
It's getting bigger.
Residents of Norway were greatly surprised by a sudden storm that struck coastal towns. Heavy rainfall and hurricane-force winds were observed along the entire coast. Luckily, there were no casualties from the raging weather. Such fragile glass doors are no match for strong hurricane winds. On the other hand, maybe it's precisely because of such natural events, which happen quite often, that people try to protect themselves as much as possible by choosing lighter doors, just in case. It's likely that the casual strollers along the promenade were pleased to witness the formation of a tornado right before their eyes. Although it lasted only a few seconds, it was enough to raise a large dust storm, after which the cyclone headed out to sea to cause trouble there.
What a fit!
In the middle of January 2025, a huge hole unexpectedly appeared right in the middle of the roadway in Saitama Prefecture, Japan. How and why? There are no answers yet, but the most unfortunate was an elderly driver who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and fell with the asphalt to a depth of almost 15 meters. He was not injured, but had to spend several days at the bottom of the pit waiting for rescue. After receiving a warning about an approaching landslide, residents of Vietnam left their homes and moved to a safe place. And they did so very timely, as within the next minute, an entire building was buried under several tons of earth falling from the mountains. In 2016, Taiwan experienced massive destruction caused by Typhoon Meranti. For the safety of residents, authorities had to temporarily close the port so that hurricane winds and heavy rain wouldn't lead to loss of life. After the typhoon had its fun on Taiwan's shores, it headed toward China, transforming into super typhoon along the way. Nothing seemed threatening when a storm warning was issued in Florida, but just look at how strong the storm that passed here was, easily breaking any green vegetation along the road. In this video, nothing foreshadowed danger, but a sudden lightning strike in the middle of a clear night sky was definitely unexpected. Hopefully, no one was under the tree at that moment. As a result of the eruption of the Cumbre Vieja volcano in La Palma in 2021, the entire island was urgently evacuated to avoid massive human casualties. Fortunately, these measures were enough to ensure that no one was harmed, although the same cannot be said about the property of local residents who lost their homes due to the disaster. A sudden dam break in Thailand led to a real flood in the city center. Much private property was seriously damaged, and the city authorities had to deal with the consequences of the flooding for quite some time. Fortunately, there were no reports of casualties. Residents of a small village in Switzerland had to urgently leave their lands as soon as they received a warning from authorities about the movement of mountain rocks, and indeed, staying in their homes while huge boulders from the mountaintop flew down, sweeping away century-old trees in an instant, would be a dangerous decision. Of course, it's sad to leave their native place, but life is still more valuable. The strong wind seemed to be chasing the driver, though it could have been a bit more subtle. Falling trees suggest that leaving the car might not be the best idea. By how deeply the coastal trees are submerged, it's easy to understand how much the river overflowed its banks. Fortunately, this is temporary, and very soon it will return to its usual limits. Residents of Thailand were lucky to witness an incredibly rare phenomenon when 4 waterspouts formed simultaneously in the open ocean. Even luckier was the fact that, despite their frightening appearance, none of the whirlwinds caused any harm to people. Residents of Vietnam living in close proximity to the Vam Nao River were urgently evacuated by the authorities as soon as the first signs of approaching landslides appeared. And indeed, several families soon lost their homes when the coastal areas were submerged along with the buildings. The weakening of the soil is believed to have been caused by a whirlpool in the river, which formed due to excessive sand mining. In 2011, the Japanese island of Honshu was hit by a tsunami that caused massive flooding. As a result of this catastrophe, the streets of the entire Tohoku region turned into real rivers, along which cars floated freely. People hiding from the bad weather at the airport couldn't believe their eyes when they saw it. Hurricane Helen, which swept through North Carolina, turned the state's infrastructure into ruins. Locals were already suffering from nature, and the seriously damaged roads only slowed down the process of helping the victims. In 2022, Mexico experienced a strong earthquake measuring 7.6, but contrary to expectations, it fortunately did not cause any catastrophic consequences. Although some buildings developed a few cracks, there were no injuries among the residents. As a result of years of erosion from wind and water, the edges of the ravine over which the bridge was laid weakened, causing such a massive collapse. Fortunately, there were no people nearby and no one was hurt. Even the bridge survived, although now it's definitely worth considering additional reinforcement. When Bolivian authorities received a warning about the approaching Hurricane Olaf on the coast, they tried to do everything possible to ensure the safety of residents. Of course, evacuating several cities at once was impossible, but providing shelters during the natural disaster was quite feasible. And those actions were enough to minimize the number of victims, although the city's infrastructure still suffered serious damage. A surveillance camera captured a swimming pool during an earthquake in the region. In such a tiny pool, waves over a meter high were forming. And imagining what was happening at sea is terrifying. Near the shores of the island of Majorca, a strong storm broke out, bringing with it hurricane-force winds and huge waves so powerful that they easily capsized boats, forcing people to flee from nature's wrath. Thanks to the timely intervention of the Spanish authorities, there were relatively few casualties, but the damage done to local residents' yachts and ships was enormous. Tourists who arrived in Apulia in the summer of 2020 received unforgettable impressions instead of a relaxing vacation on the Italian coast when a tornado began to form right on the beach. People immediately rushed to find shelter, and very timely because the destruction caused by this natural disaster was more than significant. Fortunately, the number of casualties was relatively low. The driver of the car, worried about the safety of his small children, was rushing home, fully aware that a natural disaster was approaching the city. But his attempt to speed through a dangerous section of road almost cost the entire family their lives when strong winds picked up the car and spun it around. Sometimes it's worth thinking through the consequences a bit more to avoid ending up in trouble. Just look at the force with which hail strikes the iron roof. But the operator, despite the obvious threat of getting some bruises from the falling ice, stoically continued filming this phenomenon. Residents of Hokkaido Island shared footage of their winter routine when a snow cyclone hit the region. And it's not surprising since, according to global statistics, the northern regions of Japan are considered the snowiest in the world, surpassing even Russia in the amount of precipitation. This footage shows how the ground is slowly but surely preparing for a large-scale landslide. Residents should be ready for the fact that their familiar local landscape may soon change dramatically. The flood caused by Hurricane Helen filled city basements with water in less than an hour, turning them into real swimming pools. And although this might sound fun, for building owners it's more like bad news. Let's hope that no one thought of hiding in the basements during the natural disaster. The South African city of Centurion was hit by an unexpected flood. Although this phenomenon came as a surprise to both residents and city authorities, thanks to the competent actions of rescue services, there were no casualties. This impressive Kabalega waterfall, located in Uganda, evokes a sense of awe and fear in tourists for a reason. The Victoria Nile River, overcoming thousands of rapids, gains incredible speed, making the water look as if it's boiling. Just look at the scale of Hurricane Helen and the torrential rains soaking the land. It's no surprise that there were so many flood-related consequences after this natural disaster. Although the Hurricane Sierra did not reach this particular shore, the waves it caused temporarily paralyzed the operations of the local port. But the greatest damage was suffered by small private boats and yachts moored on the coast, as the powerful waves struck their sterns against the stone quay. Due to the rather arid climate, massive sandstorms often occur in China. Although relatively safe compared to other natural disasters, they still cause many problems for locals, primarily because they reduce visibility to almost zero, forcing drivers to abandon their vehicles and take shelter to wait out the sand catastrophe. And dealing with the aftermath of such storms is no fun either. The residents of the small mountain hut were alarmed by a strange cloud appearing on the horizon. From a distance, it looked like a mountain landslide or even a fire, but what it really was remains unknown. How unlucky were these drivers to stop at a bend just at the moment when a huge wave crashed onto the shore. At least, no one was hurt. After a downpour in the mountains, many broken trees and branches ended up in the river, which, with their pressure, easily swept away a seemingly sturdy wooden bridge. This is why one should never underestimate mountain rains. Residents of the Atlantic region had a hard time when Hurricane Beryl, with a record wind speed of over 250 meters per second, headed toward the shore, causing floods and significantly complicating people's lives. And given the storm's unpredictable nature, anything could be expected from the elements. The operator of this footage managed to capture a rather rare spectacle: two waterspouts formed over Lake Michigan merging into one. This phenomenon is the result of a past storm. However, despite its frightening appearance, the phenomenon significantly weakened as it approached land. At the end of last year, Sao Paulo was hit by all kinds of natural anomalies on the brink of catastrophe. Strong winds and torrential rains caused power outages. and countless roofs and trees were torn out by the roots. Fortunately, there were no casualties among local residents. This cameraman managed to capture the beginning of the eruption of the Philippine volcano Canlaon in December 2024. As a result of this natural disaster, everything within a 3-kilometer radius was covered in ash and smoke, and people were urgently evacuated from all nearby towns, which helped avoid any human casualties. The Indian mountain region of Himachal Pradesh was severely affected in 2015 as a result of a large-scale landslide from the mountains. The cause of this natural disaster is said to be the heavy rainfall that occurred in the mountains the day before. However, despite the frightening scale, there were not many casualties. The wind blowing through the open door is so strong that you can not only hear it, you can see it with the naked eye. In such weather, it's definitely better to stay indoors. The Iguazu waterfall complex in Argentina consists of nearly 300 waterfalls, which is why this location has been included in the UNESCO World Heritage List. And indeed, such a site leaves no one indifferent. When a natural disaster is approaching a region, the sky is always the first to respond. And so it was this time. Massive clouds completely covered the sky as if warning people to quickly seek shelter from the bad weather. Just look at how composed people are in a situation where a natural disaster is unfolding right around them. Human resilience is truly impressive. In mid-December 2024, residents of Pakistan were forced to urgently leave their homes due to a landslide in the mountains. The scale of the destruction was so great that even during the evacuation, many residents experienced the wrath of Mother Nature firsthand. Due to heavy rainfall in India, dams overflowed, which led to full-scale flooding. Although there were not many casualties, the authorities promised to pay more attention to this problem in the future and did everything they could to help local residents during the natural disaster. The operator of this footage must have been incredibly scared to be caught in the middle of such a sandstorm far from any shelter, and he was simply working in the field when this calamity suddenly descended on the farmers. Let's hope that no one among them was injured. The small Pacific country of Vanuatu often has to deal with earthquakes, but this time the strength of the tremors reached 7.2 on the Richter scale, which is very troubling news for the island nation as it now faces the threat of a powerful tsunami. Most likely, the reason for such a surge of ice and water was the thawing of mountain waterfalls with the arrival of spring. But the sight of an icy floe approaching the bridge still causes a bit of a shiver. Just imagine how powerful the engine of this jet plane must be to raise such a massive sandstorm from a momentary flyby over the ground. And the operators, caught on camera, were clearly filming footage for another action movie. On the eve of 2025, the authorities in Peru had to urgently close almost all ports in the country due to abnormally high waves in the sea. And that was the right decision, as the raging storm easily overturned and crashed boats and sailboats into each other. Those less fortunate to be at sea when the natural disaster began had to urgently evacuate to shore, battling massive waves.
Dios mío! ¡Eso, señor! ¡Cuidado!
Residents of Turkey and Syria were definitely unprepared for an earthquake of more than 7 magnitude, which caused serious destruction in major cities. As a result of this catastrophe, several buildings collapsed along with the people inside. The authorities tried to launch rescue operations as quickly as possible, but unfortunately not everyone was saved in time. On a clear sunny day, the sky over Florida dimmed when a pleasant cool breeze suddenly began forming a tornado right by the shore. Such a phenomenon is not uncommon in this region, as it is caused by the collision of a hot atmospheric front from the land with cold sea winds. And that's all for today. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Your support is the best reward for me. Thank you for watching. See you soon. Bye.